بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما بعد, my brothers and sisters, the topic of my reminder for this Juma is choose wisely, and the reminder is for myself and for you. Let me ask you a question: which choice is more important? Where to go on a vacation, or what career to enter, what career to choose? Which choice is more important? Who to employ or who to marry? Why? A wrong vacation choice means some money and maybe 2 weeks gone down the drain. Lessons learned, never go there again. Wrong career choice, however, means what? Similarly, you can employ somebody and later regret it. It happens. And then you can fire them. But if you marry the wrong person and realize you did that, then what? Yes, you can divorce them. But what is the price of that? The importance of the choice depends on the consequences of it. What will be the payoff or price of the choice? And how long will that last? I remind myself and you to choose wisely, because the choice that I am going to talk to you about is forever. Diamonds are not forever. Choices are forever. And so, let us choose wisely. Choosing well is so critical that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't leave it to us to do it on our own. He didn't force us, but He guided us, and He said, Jalla Jalaluhu, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, La ikraha fid deen qad tabayyana ar-rushdu min al-ghayy. فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, which means there is no compulsion in religion. Nobody is being forced to enter Islam or being forced to leave Islam. Verily, the right path has become distinct from the wrong path. Whoever disbelieves in the Taghut, false theories, false idols, false gods, and believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu, then that person has grasped the most trustworthy handhold that will never break. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearer and all knower. Islam is an active choice that we need to make. You don't become Muslim because of your race or color or nationality or tribe or name. We become Muslim when we choose obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over obedience to our own desires. Please understand, I'm not even saying obedience to others, because we obey others only when we choose to obey others. So the real tazad, the real conflict is between obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and obedience to our own desires. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Furqan, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَى أَفَأَنْتَ تَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَكِيلًا. He said to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, have you not seen the one who has taken his desire as his object of worship? And are you going to make shafa'at? Are you going to intercede for such a person? Meaning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, do not intercede for such a person. It really is as simple as that. Islam teaches us that success is proportional to obedience. Obedience to the orders of Allah in the way that His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us. The best example of that is Salah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to establish Salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us how to do that. Allah said, Aqimus Salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Allah said, establish Salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pray as you have seen me pray. This is the fundamental connection between the Quran and the Sunnah, and the way in which the Sunnah supports the Quran. The Sunnah is the field book of the Quran, and that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused it to be protected and its ways to be practiced in the world generation after generation after generation. The fundamental principle in Islam is taqwa. Taqwa is the result of a process which begins with inquiry. We ask, who is Allah? Then when we learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our hearts fill with His glory and magnificence, His khashiyah, and with gratitude, which is shukr. This is the meter. If you think you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, see what is in your heart with respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This will be reflected in our actions. Those who have khashiyatullah automatically obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't make excuses, they don't try to find loopholes, they don't go fatwa shopping. They ask, what did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do in this case? And they do the same. This condition where we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we are in His awe and we love Him more than anyone and anything else is taqwa. Taqwa guides our every action, our every decision. For the one who has it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised His guidance and His protection and His support. Taqwa is a condition of hidayah, of guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called His book Hudal lil Muttaqeen, guidance for the Muttaqoon. We are coming to a month that is dedicated to making us Muttaqoon. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us Ramadan al-Mubarak in good health, iman, and with the time to maximize its benefits. It is this framework of the relationship of the believer with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which is based on knowing his Rabb Jalla Jalaluhu, feeling the awe and majesty and grace, and so fearing His displeasure and hoping for His forgiveness, being grateful to Him for His blessings, the shukr, and therefore loving Him. This is the relationship between the head, information, rules and laws, and the heart, the khashiyah, the hubb, the awe, the gratitude, the shukr, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the relationship between ilm, knowledge, and irfan, understanding. It is the relationship between knowing about and knowing. Knowing about and knowing. The relationship is at-taqwa. It is the relationship between living in this world as a person of this world and living in this world as a person of the akhirah. Grateful for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given in this world, but with the heart not in the world, but yearning for the meeting with Him Jalla Jalaluhu. This is the state of mind where the person's whole concept of investment changes. Where he is not investing in this dunya, but he is taking from this dunya and investing in the akhirah. To reach this position, we must make effort. No doubt about this, because nothing comes without effort. But no doubt also that after all the effort, the one who is connected to Allah knows that all the effort is useless unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to grant the gift of His closeness. For that, the slave makes the effort and begs his Rabb Jalla Jalaluhu. Effort gets you to the door of the palace. Without effort, you are not even at the door. But after all the effort, you will get in only if the door opens. It is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He declared that He would open the door for the one who is sincere and who seeks His pleasure. He said, "Wasjud waqtarib." Make sajda and come close. When the slave submits himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in sujood, his Rabb draws him close. That is the beauty of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the foundation of tawakkul, the reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose power the person knows and whose blessings he feels grateful for. He fears nobody except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and relies on nobody but Him Jalla Jalaluhu. This is the reason that the more he knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more he loves him and the more he fears displeasing him. It is a beautiful, positive and self-sustaining relationship. The relationship between taqwa and hope, love, which results in tawakkul, in reliance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Kullu nafsin za'iqatul maut. وَإِنَّمَا تُوَفَّوْنَ أُجُورَكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةَ فَقَدْ فَازَ وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, everyone will taste death. And only on the day of resurrection, on the day of judgment, shall you be paid your wages in full. And whosoever is removed away from the fire, from Jahannam, and admitted to Jannah, to paradise, indeed that person is successful. The life of this world is only the enjoyment of deception. It's a deceiving thing. That is why everything the believer does is for one reason only, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he loves him more than anything and anyone else. This is why I submit to you and remind myself that the first and foremost responsibility that we have is to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to fill our hearts with His majesty and grace. If we do that, then everything else will become very easy. His greatness and our connection with Him will become the whetstone, the criterion on which we will test every word and action of ours to see if it meets the only thing that matters. Does it please Allah? I submit to you that the real reason why we have such a struggle in doing the right thing, when we know what is perfect, what it is perfectly clearly, is because we have not settled two questions in our mind and heart. What are the questions? Who is Allah? And what is my connection with Him? Two questions. I submit to you, I remind myself, let us settle these once and for all. Who is Allah and what is my connection to Him? I am amused at the fervor with which we organize gatherings for what we like to call tahfuz al-Sharia, protection of the Sharia. I am amused because the Sharia does not need protection. It needs implementation in our own lives. How can someone who breaks every rule of the Sharia talk about protecting the Sharia? Who is he or she protecting the Sharia for? Who are they protecting the Sharia for? When we feel free to disregard the Sharia in the most important aspects of our lives, salah, earning halal and haram, eating halal and haram, following the sunnah, birth and death ceremonies, marriages, building houses, building homes, earning a living, relating to our own family, when we feel free to disregard the Sharia and all of these critical and important decisions and aspects of our lives, who are we following by saying that we stand for protecting the Sharia? We are destroying the Sharia every day. How can we protect something that we are busy destroying? My brothers and sisters, I want to remind you and myself that one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us this question. Let us not wait for that day. Let us ask ourselves just now, what am I going to answer when Allah asks me this question? I submit to you, how long do you want to live in this self-created struggle between our nafs, desire, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's orders? How do we expect to win a struggle against Allah? And why struggle against Allah when we know that one day we will be brought before Him? And we need His forgiveness and mercy. There is no doubt about this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about those who disobey Him and obey their own desires, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَى أَفَأَنْتَ تَكُونُ عَلَيْهِ وَكِيلًا. Have you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, seen the one who has taken as his ilah, his God, his own desire? Would you then be a wakil over him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam not to seek forgiveness for such people. How long do we want to live worshipping our desires, disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and breaking the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Forget the world and remember Allah. Please Allah, and Allah will make the world please you. Displease Allah, and Allah will enslave us to the world, and we will live a life of hardship and face the anger of Allah when we die. We know and believe that this is a world of cause and effect. Everything has an effect. Every action, word, and choice has an effect. We believe this because we know this from our own experience. How then do we believe that displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no effect? The Sahaba made their choice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about them in the beautiful ayat with which Surah Al-Baqarah ends. In Imam Al-Wahidi's book, Tafsir Asbab al-Nuzul, he mentions, based on reports from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu and Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu and others, what happened when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ يُحَاسِبُكُم بِهِ اللَّهُ فَيَغْفِرُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ وَيُعَذِّبُ مَن يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belongs all that there is in the heavens and the earth. And whether you disclose what is in your own selves or conceal it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call you to account for it. Then He forgives whom He wills and He punishes whom He wills. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is able to do everything. My brothers and sisters, I quote from Al-Wahidi's book, pages 29 and 30. He says, the commentators of the Quran said, when the ayah, and whether you make known, وَإِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ يُحَاسِبُكُم بِهِ اللَّهُ, whether you make known what is in your minds and hearts or hide it, Allah will bring you to account for it. When this ayat was revealed, Abu Bakr, Umar, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Mu'adh bin Jabal, and a group of the Ansar, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, may Allah be pleased with all of them, went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They knelt down on their knees before him and they said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by Allah, no other ayah of the Quran is harder on us than this one. We speak, one of us speaks to himself, inside himself, with things that he does not like to remain in his heart, even in exchange for the world and all that it contains. They are saying that an evil thought comes to me. It came unbidden. And I would not want that thought. I would never act on this thought. I don't even want to think that thought. Even if I get the whole world and everything it contains in exchange for that thought, I still don't want that thought. But it is there. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we will be taken to task for that. For things that we speak to our own selves. By Allah, we are doomed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is how it was revealed. They said, we are ruined. We have been bound by that which we cannot possibly bear. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his blessed face became red with anger. He said to them, are you going to say like the Bani Israel said to Musa alayhi salam, Sama'na wa asayna. We hear, but we will not obey. We hear and we rebel. He said, Qul, say, Sama'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey. Stop for a minute and think about this. They went to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a grievance which they thought was justified, right? I'm sure if I ask you this question directly and say, do you think their grievance was justified? What would you say? Yet, after listening to them, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam rejected it and he said, say, we hear and we obey. What was their reaction? Did they refuse to say that? Did they say, no, Ya Rasulullah, you see, but you didn't understand us? That is not what we meant. Nothing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Qul sama'na wa ata'na. غُفْرَانَكَ رَبَّنَا وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ. Say, we hear and we obey. And to you, forgive us our Rabb, and to you is our return. And the Sahaba said, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا غُفْرَانَكَ رَبَّنَا وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ. Now, the story doesn't end there. Because nothing changed. They said this, but nothing changed. That ayah remained in force. Only 1 year later, and we know this from the hadith of Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha. 1 year later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then sent relief and repose with the next ayah where He said, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wusaha. Allah does not task a soul beyond its scope, which abrogated the ayat before it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when this ayat was revealed, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pardoned my people, my community, for the things with which they speak to themselves, as long as they do not act upon them or speak about them to others. We are not, insha'Allah, culpable for our thoughts and our desires, as long as we don't bring it on our tongues, as long as we don't speak that, as long as we don't tell them to somebody else, and as long as we do not act upon those negative thoughts and negative desires. Please try to reflect on two things in connection with this ayah, because this is the essence of Tawheed, this is the essence of Taqwa. Number one, the concern of the Sahaba was not because they wanted to fulfill their desires in opposition to the orders of Allah. They were concerned about displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by even having the desire that He may not like. Desires, not actions. We are not talking about saying or doing anything. This is about thinking and feeling in our hearts. The Sahaba were concerned and fearful that by their thoughts and feelings they might offend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be held accountable. What does that tell us about the strength of their yaqeen, their certainty about meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And what about us? What about us? Second, how severe this test must have been for the Sahaba that for 1 year they lived with the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would hold them accountable for their thoughts and their desires. This was their training of strengthening their iman and their yaqeen in the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These were people of iman who believed in the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a level of certainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala became the witness to their yaqeen. For such people to have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that He would hold them accountable for their thoughts and desires was very difficult. Then, even when they obeyed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, we hear and we obey, sami'na wa ata'na, nothing happened for a year. And remember, they did not know it would take 1 year. As far as if I put myself in that position, I would say, well, I asked, it was rejected. Khalas. We do not know how many of those Sahaba who were there at that particular time, in that 1 year they passed away. How difficult a test that must have been. That is why it is necessary to study the Quran, not just read it without even understanding the meaning. That is why it is necessary to reflect on the Quran and to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help in understanding it, to read what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught and how the Sahaba understood and acted on his teaching. We must do this because they were Muslims and we are also Muslims. And because they are the gold standard against which we will be measured. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy and for His cover over us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can keep a test going for as long as He wishes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not test to find out, He knows the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests to establish witnesses in our favor or against us. For those who stand steadfast, also with His help, the test strengthens them. The Sahaba were tested for 1 year. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba by bearing witness to their faith and obedience, and He revealed, آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam believes in what has been sent down to him from his Rabb, and so do the believers. Allah is bearing witness. Each one believes in Allah, His Malaika, His angels, His Kutub, His books, His Nabiyyin, His messengers. And they say we make no distinction between one messenger and another messenger, and they say we hear and we obey. We seek your forgiveness, our Rabb, and to you is the return of all. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comforted the Sahaba and gave them relief and abrogated His earlier command and taught them how to make dua. He taught them what dua to make and how to make the dua. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. Allah said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden a person beyond his ability to bear the burden. He gets reward for that good which he has earned, and he is punished for that evil which he has earned. Our Rabb, do not punish us if we forget or fall into error. Our Rabb, do not lay a burden on us like that which you did lay on those before us. Our Rabb, do not put on us a burden greater than we have the strength to bear. Pardon us and grant us forgiveness. Have mercy on us. You are our Mawla, you are our protector. Give us victory over our enemies, over the disbelievers. The reward of obedience is honor. When the Sahaba obeyed Rasulullah without question and said, we hear and we obey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored them by repeating the words of Rasulullah which they had accepted and repeated as his word to be recited in Salah until the end of time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then comforted them and removed their anxiety which was about displeasing Him, and taught them what dua to make. What can be better than to be taught a dua by the one to whom that dua is made and who is the one to accept it? When He is giving us the formula, what is better than that? Finally, I want to end with mentioning how all of this applies to us today, and will continue to apply to all those who wish to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a state where He is pleased with them and be counted with the Sahaba in whose honor these ayat were revealed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا ذلك الفوز العظيم. And the first to enter Islam, to embrace Islam, of the Muhajirun and the Ansar, and those who followed them exactly in excellence in Islam. اتبعهم بإحسان. Allah is well pleased with them and they are well pleased with Him Jalla Jalaluhu. He has prepared for them gardens under which rivers flow, to live therein forever. That is supreme success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His mercy honored the Sahaba by stating that He was pleased with them, and then left the door open for anyone who wishes to join them in this greatest of states, that Allah is pleased with him and he is pleased with Allah. The choice is ours. Let us choose wisely, because we will live forever with our choice. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.